My name is Jan-Erik Vinje, the Managing Director of OpenAR Cloud. That's a global non-profit organization with a mission to drive the development of open and interoperable real-world spatial computing technology, data and standards for the benefit of all. I'm also a full-stack developer at Norkart AS, a geospatial software and services provider.
Hey everybody, my name is Jason Fox, and I chair the reality modeling and mapping working group within OpenAR Cloud. And it's a mouthful, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what that means. But if I were to kind of define what we do today, it would be we're trying to understand the underpinnings or the framework of how do we model reality and map it in such a way that a computer system can understand it and then thus present it in kind of a human way, right? So that's what I'm doing with OpenAR Cloud. I will note that I am a software engineer at Microsoft by day, doing spatial computing stuff. And yes, I do work with HoloLens, which brings me to my disclaimer. I am not officially representing Microsoft in OpenAR Cloud, and I cannot talk about anything specifically to do with Microsoft technologies. So just wanted to get that out of the way before the Q&A session.
So with that said, we must say that we're really excited to be here at the 10th anniversary of AWE. And even though it's probably been a long day for many people here, we hope to keep you from falling asleep, maybe even getting you a little bit excited about AR clouds. So,
what do you think? Is this a major milestone for humanity? The AR cloud? What do you guys think? Round of applause? Yeah? You guys like the concept? All right. So I'm gonna let Jan-Erik riff a little on going back in time and what his presentation is.
Yeah. So 13.7 billion years ago, space, time, matter, and energy came into existence. The immensity of cosmos is way beyond what a mere human like me can comprehend. What you see here is a beautiful visualization of the large-scale structure of cosmos. The small dots there are entire galaxies, some of them even clusters of galaxies. So our solar system is seemingly insignificant, placed in the outskirts of a galaxy like similar to billions of other galaxies. But something very interesting is about to happen here. Our beautiful home, life started evolving here 4 billion years ago. Organisms developed brains and senses. About 350,000 years ago, modern humans arrived. Now our species dominate the planet for good and bad. Sometimes we do harm to each other, and sometimes we do wonderful things. We create spectacular works of art and architecture. For most people, life has gotten better over time, and we become a less violent species. On average, we live longer lives. We live materially richer lives, are healthier. But as far as our best scientist knows, there is absolutely no evidence for life outside of our solar system. That means that what each and every one of us do now might have a cosmic significance.
So it's very interesting, Jan-Erik, but just dial it back. Is there something a little more recent history that we can use as an analog for the AR cloud?
So, yeah, 30 years ago, building on thousands of years of technological advancements since the invention of the written word, Sir Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. In 30 years, since he described this concept on a single piece of paper, it has totally transformed our lives, economy, and culture and society. At the end of last year, more than half the world's population was online. That has given unprecedented access to information and opportunity for millions of humans to connect across the globe. But in 2019, the feelings we have about our digital lives are not too upbeat. We have deepfake, we have fake news, there is increasing polarization between groups of people, anger. There's an epidemic of loneliness and depression amongst our youth and children. And there are concerns over loss of privacy, security, and safety when we are online. We seem to be increasingly disconnected from each other and oblivious to our physical surroundings while being addicted to a very limited sensory experience. We might even feel disconnected from our own bodies. Our fantastic stereoscopic vision that we have evolved to explore a dynamic three-dimensional world is fixated on a flat two-dimensional screen. We have these amazing dexterous hands, and we use them like to swipe on a smooth glass surface. So is this really the best we can do with our amazing technology today? Are we entering a digital dark age? Is it just going to get worse?
I don't know. It sounds very foreboding, and actually I'm kind of depressed from that. Thank you. But I think actually we have an opportunity as an industry to usher in a kind of a renaissance with the AR cloud. And to quote Ori, make computing human again, right? And that's kind of what lays out in front of us by augmenting our surroundings with meaningful content that's actually pushing humanity forward or helping humanity move forward, right? So
here we present to you what we think might be the key. So space, time, matter, and energy is about to merge with the digital world. It's going to fundamentally be transformative of the way we make atom and bits come together, uniting the physical with the digital world in a new and upgraded universe. A merger that might be, as far as we know, unprecedented in the history of cosmos. We haven't figured out what to call this upgraded universe. Some call it the metaverse, some call it mirror world. There are all sorts of names for it. Personally, I like to call it the SuperVRs.
It doesn't really, I guess it doesn't really matter what we're calling it at this point, but I think we all generally have the same idea of what the Superverse is, right? Where it's this shared experience between humans. And currently, there's a lot of organizations building technology to move towards this goal of the shared experience. And so I think we're kind of almost at an existential crossroads of let's stop and think. What are we building? Why are we building it? And can we build it better together? So let's explore the promise of this.
Yeah. So all our senses, that's the key here. Digital objects will live in the same physical spaces as real-world objects. The real world made of atoms. We will be in a shared programmable space attached firmly to our planets. And we will experience this world together. And when I said all senses, I mean all senses. So technology is enabling us to see and hear. That's commonplace. And even haptics with touch. But there are examples of prototypes with even smell and taste. So the digital objects in the universe can behave and be manipulated by us as if they were real physical things. Let me see. So you tried this piano, right?
I cannot confirm or deny that. But it looks amazing.
Yeah, they have the virtual object. They have no mass and substance, but they could sort of behave and act as if they were. But they are not limited to that. They could break all the laws of physics. So the possibilities are limited only by our imagination. We will also co-inhabit the superverse with robots, drones, IoT devices. So it's a concept that is quite wide. I even propose that in the future we will bring our pets into the superverse. So imagine one day you are playing catch with your dog and you're throwing a virtual object. And that virtual object, your dog can see it, the dog can smell it, you can taste it, and chew on it. And it can even try to run away when it tries to catch it. Such ideas are nothing new. They have existed in science fiction for decades. The reason this technology is about to become a reality now is because of a number of recent advances in technology, where you have computer vision, machine learning, compute power capacity, and big data processing, the miniaturization of sensors, and now we're on the verge of getting low latency, high speed, high bandwidth networking. Google is already providing experimental glimpses of this superverse in their new version of Google Maps, where local guides or owners of Pixel phones can navigate in AR mode. And that uses their visual positioning service. It's actually an AR cloud technology. And that offers position and orientation that is far superior to what GPS and compass can enable. Niantic is demonstrating prototypes of similar technologies using 5G and edge computing for multi-user AR gaming experiences, where latency is very important. But how will all the new apps and services fit together from a user perspective? Let's look at how thematic layers might be a key organizing principle for the superverse.
All right, so you guys have probably seen something that looks like this before, maybe not. But if we look at the base, we started with physical reality, which is what's real is kind of philosophical debate to have. But in terms of what a computer can see, what is reality? And we build a static reality map or layer that is the basis or the structure of the system, right? It's what allows us to orient the user in space, right? Something we call GeoPost. And it's not updated very often, so you could kind of call it static. It's our buildings, it's our roads, etc. On top of that, we have a concept of real-time layers, where these are the things that will be changing much more often, right? And you can imagine that the scale and different rates of change there might be on all these different layers of real-time updating. And so that's where this whole idea really just comes to life, right, is on those real-time layers. These will consist of, movable objects, cars, people, the digital representation of ourselves, our pets. I like that idea. Bringing in digital pets into a park, right? And then understanding how that park interacts with them and how the people in that park interact with them. So, and as over time, we kind of imagine as the technology gets better and better, that these layers will get richer and richer with that types of data, or those types of data. And so on top of reality static, we have this idea of the thematic application layers. And those are the ones that are actually going to provide the interesting contextual use cases to the users of the superverse. And I'm going to turn this over to Jan-Erik to explain these.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Before I do that, I will make the claim that a fundamental prerequisite for this to happen is that just like the web, it's accessible to anyone using any type of device on any platform anywhere in the world. This technology should be open and interoperable at its core. So I think this is going to really start things up. The construction layer. That's the layer where we'll architect, plan, and construct our buildings, cities, and physical infrastructure. It's a $10 trillion plus industry in the world every year. So I think it's a fair assumption that the productivity gains that can be had could result in economic gains in the orders of trillions of dollars. The first features are already on the markets. Companies like Trimble, Sightlens, and several others have started to provide ways to bring BIM models directly to the construction sites where they belong. Infrastructure on the ground can be visualized to help avoid delays and costly mistakes. You can show the buildings to stakeholders before the construction commences and make cost-saving adjustments. Actually building the right building, that's probably the biggest productivity gain of them all. During construction, you will be able to verify that things are done according to the plan by looking at the 3D models as they compare to the real physical construction. And every time there are cases where you need to modify the plan to adapt to unprecedented situations or unpredicted situations on the construction site, you can update the BIM model in real time in direct communication with the construction engineer who might be off-site. When the construction is complete, the adjusted BIM model can act as a live digital twin that will be very valuable to maintaining and operating the building in the years to come. And so I think this is where most people will have real huge benefits of the Superverse. It's going to be very familiar in a few years from now.
Matching clothes?
Yeah?
Matching clothes? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. Didn't hear what you said. Imagine arriving at an airport with your family in a foreign country. You don't know the language. You have never been there. You really want to get your stuff to the hotel after a long journey. Now you need to figure out what transportation options there are, which are fastest and cheapest and most comfortable. You also need to figure out exactly where to walk with your family. And lastly, you must also figure out how to purchase tickets or hail a ride. This sounds sort of stressful, but don't worry, the mobility layer has your back. The AI assistant knows your favorite modes of transportation and if you value low price, speed, or comfort the most. It also understands your context, where you are relative to everything, and can access and interface directly with every services and content that is available, and it does that on your behalf. So imagine simply being notified of 2 or 3 transportation options through audio or visual display in your smart glasses. So after discussing the options with your spouse, you make a small gesture and the purchase is confirmed. And you will be provided with cues, visual cues on where to go with your family to get to that transportation option. The rich context enabled by AR and AI in the Superverse will provide enhanced user experiences, helping us to navigate through unfamiliar situations with amazing ease and comfort. And the commerce layer. It is my hope that the commerce layer will provide a great boost for local economies and communities, empowering local businesses and consumers alike. So let me provide you with an example inspired by Tim Berners-Lee's Solid project. I stole his Solid logo, put there in that robot thing. So imagine a specimen of Homo photographicus walking around in an unfamiliar city, taking pictures. Suddenly, a small ding is heard to his left, and he turns his head, sees across the street, and there's a sign like blinking across or over a shop, and he sees a spinning Hasselblad camera. So he's really a geek, and this Hasselblad camera from the 70s is really the kind of stuff he's into. So the matching of seller and potential customer has been mediated through the Superverse, initiated by the AI assistant on behalf of the user. So what is radically different here with this matching compared to this current mode of gathering personal data is that there's no need for this system. There's no need for the shop to know the age or gender or nationality or income or education or what sort of stuff is been looking on online. The only thing is relevant is interested in this camera, and the AI assistant was happened to be there, so he just checked what's in the shop. Very, very protective of privacy. So the solid pod is supposed to encrypt and store all your personal data. There's no third party on the other side of the globe aggregating this data about you in this future. This example is a flipped model of matching. And I think this provides maybe one of the most interesting opportunity for new business models that the Superverse can unlock.
All right, so you have some ideas about layers. So really, the potential to cut across layers is there too, right? So imagine scenarios where you're sharing your space with somebody remotely, right? And they can see and experience everything that you see. And in fact, in this demo from the HoloLens 2 launch, thanks for putting me on the spot, this is a startup named Spatial. You guys may be familiar with them. They've built this collaboration tool, and they're showing here a remote user seeing exactly what Anand is seeing, CEO, and being able to interact and interface with that same content. And it's in the same kind of local coordinate system, right? And so the Superverse adds even more transformative dimensions and possibilities to unlocking human productivity, right? And so some of the technologies or some of the underlying capabilities that will enable this will be like reality capture, scene understanding, and we're seeing a really a surge of research and technology development around these, neural networks that can understand what is semantically in a scene, what is seen by the camera. And so giving remote users a really accurate picture of what you're seeing in a three-dimensional way.
The art layer, I think this will be my favorite one. I think I could go on for days about this layer, but imagine a town commissioning a group of artists and craftsmen to build a collaborative work of art for a particular location in that town. That project could fuse together any existing art forms like acting, music, sculpture, painting, and animation, together with spatial awareness and a responsiveness to what people do, or maybe the dynamic changes in lighting and weather conditions that occur at that place. You could mix in gaming technology, AI, or any other not yet conceived of ways of computing in the future. This will become art forms never before seen or created or experienced. Such location-based artworks could help attract outside people to visit a town for the unique art experience that are only found there. This is an exciting example of how this technology could empower and help local communities flourish. Part of the explosion of art in the Renaissance was triggered by breakthroughs in the technology of art making, with central perspective being the most prominent. Speaking of the Renaissance, which lifted us out of the Dark Ages, we should take a moment to consider the risk of falling into the digital Dark Ages. So, we previously claimed that we are at an existential crossroads. The title of this talk refers to the coming digital upgrades of our physical reality. However, there are many things that might go wrong and that would downgrade our experience. Some risk factors are important and challenging to solve, but will probably not throw us into a digital dark age if we fail to solve them. Examples of such factors could be lack of interoperability, limited access in parts of the world, spread of walled gardens, poor security and safety, poor user experience, lack of best practices, and the like. But some risk factors are of a kind that if we are careless and do not act consciously from the very beginning, I fear that we might risk losing our freedom and human dignity. We risk building for ourselves a digital prison that might be nearly impossible for either us or future generations to free ourselves from. We might come to miss the good old days when online was separated from offline. This quote is by the author Yuval Noah Harari in the final paragraph in the chapter from his latest book, 21 Lessons from the 21st Century. In this chapter, he makes the case that the value of connecting digital with the physical is great, so that we can get better in touch with our own bodies, the people around us, the environments where we live. But he finishes the chapter by raising concerns that this merger might enable tech companies to spy on us and manipulate us in far more intrusive ways. And I think his fears are warranted. Machine learning, a key enabling technology for the superverse, could be abused on a massive scale to create a real-life horror story. If we allow governments or big corporations to centrally aggregate and analyze all our sensor data with machine learning algorithms in real time, then all our freedom and privacy might be lost. Such organizations could, in theory, be able to capture in minute detail every movement, emotion, facial expression, body posture, conversation, and intimate interaction at all time, everywhere, for every person on the planet. Such a concentration of power would be unprecedented. It is said that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, the image you see here is from a documentary about the social credit system that is currently being rolled out across China. The online activities and behavior of people in public places is being aggregated and analyzed in real time using machine learning to provide everyone with a personal score on good behavior. The score is accessible to anyone, leaving people with low scores locked out from the most basic services and opportunities. This is totalitarianism powered by exponential technologies. The fact that this is going on in the world today shows us that the risk to humanity is not only theoretical. It is going to be one of the biggest challenges of our time to steer clear of a descent into this existential pitfall. Should I click? It worked. It worked when we tried, right?
There we go.
No audio. You think we can get audio?
Sticky notes. Building. There we go. I don't have to narrate it. No.
This is supposed to be...
No audio?
This is supposed to be the elevator pitch.
It's viewable on our website, openercloud.org.
Well, let's just move forward. So we have, I said the stakes they were high, and the time to act is now. That's the ending of the teaser. So at OpenAR Cloud, we believe we can lay the foundation for a digital renaissance by combining our efforts across the globe. On February 21st, we held the inaugural working group meetings where dozens of people, including some of the world's leading experts in a range of fields, participated in the formation of our first 10 working groups. Yesterday, we had a great day for OpenAR Cloud. We had a full-day symposium at the Ericsson Experience Center in Santa Clara with more than 60 attendees, where we released the very first State of the AR Cloud report. You can download that from our website right now if you do that. Announced also, and signed a contract for a strategic partnership with the XR Safety Initiative. I don't know if Kavya Perlman is she here? Okay. They are a team of people who have been doing research and experimenting with attack vectors for many, many years. So we are really happy to have them as part of our community, and we will also contribute to their media outreach project called Ready Hacker One. We also had pioneering AR cloud companies showcasing their latest technological breakthroughs. We had the president of the Kronos Group talking about OpenXR and GLTF. We had some great breakout sessions. The one picture there is your breakout session. And finally, we had an intense panel discussion on privacy and security in the era of constant reality capture, with some of the most distinguished subject matter experts in the industry. We also had a fun and exciting party sponsored by Contextual, one of our funding partners. You can go to our website now and download the report, and you can view our recorded live stream of the event on YouTube. So now our members and partners, they are busy figuring out how to build the first pieces of an open and interoperable real-world spatial computing ecosystem together. We hope to ultimately create the kind of future that people want if they could have a say. But we need the contributions of a lot of dedicated people to make it happen. Everyone in the audience here today are welcome to join our efforts and contribute to important work. We want you to help shape the future of spatial computing and create a better future for all. But now, Jason will tell you more about the report we released yesterday.
First of all, think about the date that Jan-Erik stated, February 21st, when we had our inaugural meeting. And what is this, May 29th? So we're 3 months, and we've released, 140-page report about the state of the AR cloud in the industry in 3 months. So I'm gonna give a little round of applause to the working group. And so what I've done here, just like what we've done really quickly, is we tried to just take a little snippet of the spirit of each working group that contributed to the report. And we thought we'd just maybe give you some of the highlights to wet your whistle or get your interest into the report so you'll go download it.
So this is the first report that provides an initial consensus overview of the state of many of the components that make up the nascent AR cloud industry. We had 39 subject matter experts contributing from the 10 working groups, and also mentioned there are at least 130 pages of content.
Yeah. I don't know, where did we end up at final count? So what I want to do here is we kind of came up with this framework for what the AR cloud would consist of. And I'm going to start by data. Data is at the core. I think that's pretty much a given. And where I'm working in the reality modeling is at the core of that data, right? it's like what pavement is to roads, right? It's the underpinning of something like this to be real and to exist. And that's one of the reasons that we believe so firmly in the interoperability of such a system or set of systems. And it's really at the core of what we do and what we talk about in our working groups.
And that's right. The data involved in the AR cloud must be handled with care while remaining accessible to legitimate parties. On top of the data, there's a presentation system comprised of both hardware and software. Today these include smartphones and head-mounted displays.
So with
Oh, yeah, we have more items there.
Continuous contextual search is a concept that we came up with of, as the user moves about a space and they can share with the system the context of interest that they have as an individual, and the system can serve up those contexts as they walk about and share their GeoPost with the system. And so, that is fundamental to not invading and not saturating the user with information that they don't care about, and make sure that what they're seeing is contextual to their interests. Right?
Oh,
do you want to cover that?
Yeah. So the processing zones, number 4 there, they will be key part of the technology backing the AR clouds. These range from capturing reality to privacy and security. Last but not least, content delivery, a new form of content experience and service ecosystem, and something like a real-world spatial browser will need to come online to seamlessly deliver standardized content to the user. Now
it's real. So I wanted to share a definition of reality modeling and mapping that we came up with through discussion. And it's kind of evolved over the past 3 months, what it actually is. And so reality modeling and mapping is the process of capturing the spatial map of a real space, determining the geometric relationships between objects in that space, modeling the state of those objects and the semantic relationships between them, and gathering it all into a digital collection, and then storing that digital collection against an index so it is easily queryable. So that's like a big, massive definition, and we'll refine that, I'm sure. If anybody would like to help do that, we certainly welcome you to join the organization and be a part of this formative group.
So, GeoPost. That is words that came up during a lunch break at my day job. We came up with that to make it more succinct, to say geographical pose. It describes the position and orientation of a real world or digital object in 6 degrees of freedom, and also in a geospatial frame of reference. In the report, we describe the new types of use cases that GeoPost would enable. There is currently no standard for encoding GeoPosts. We think GeoPost will be critical, so OpenAI Cloud has written a draft proposal for a working group to make such a universal standard. We will present this for the Open Geospatial Consortium in a couple of weeks, hoping it will become a standards working group there. So stay tuned for this one. It might become the universal glue between the digital and the physical world.
Privacy and security, that's a big topic, and it's fundamental to what we do as a group. So this is a snapshot. This is directly out of the report, so you guys can take a photo if you want, or get it there. But we have a bit of a head start almost because of the recent issues that tech companies have had with privacy, and now the changes in policy like GDPR and those things that have come out of it. And so it's given us a little bit of a leap forward and a good starting point to at least talk about what kind of fundamental checks and balances need to be in place, and hopefully, eventually one day, get to the point where we're talking to lawmakers and legislators about what policy should be for this.
So, user experience, we have such a great opportunity to use AR cloud technology to make the world a better place and developing inclusive, accessible, and user-friendly experiences that are best in class, and perhaps this is one of the most impactful opportunities.
By the way, the user experience section is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, it's huge. We have
So
such an active community
unfair
there.
representation, but
Working around the clock for 3 months, you know, crazy.
I want to highlight one thing here. So we have an open source glossary of terms for the AR cloud. We felt that this should be something that the community helps define, what these terms mean for the AR cloud. It's hosted on GitHub in wiki format, so if you're familiar with editing and Markdown and wiki, we will start accepting pull requests at some point, so feel free to fork it and be involved. So there's that, and then I believe